When I tell you guys, I've tried to stack this pile of books up 3 times and every time they have fallen off my bed. I'm not joking, okay? I'm not joking. Hey guys, what's up? It's Belle. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hello, and if you've come back, thank you so much. Today, you guys, it is finally time to talk about our September reading wrap-up. This month, you guys, was absolutely insane for me. I feel like I read a lot, but also I read like quite a variety of genres as well. And I'm really super excited to talk to you guys about what I did read, what I didn't read, because I somewhat read from my TBR this month, but I think also I was just in like such a strange mood. Like I really didn't know what I was in the vibes or the mood for. If you guys did see my September TBR video, I did pick quite a few like cutesy fall rom-coms. I had a few dark romances in there, and I had a couple of rereads that I prioritized for this month, October. So I somewhat stuck to the TBR, but didn't complete the TBR, let's just say that. However, we did read some really good quality books. Anyway, I'm just gonna get right on into the video because we have a lot of books to discuss. So let's get comfy, let's get cozy, and let's talk about every single book I read in September. As always, you guys, before we talk about each of the books, I am gonna give you guys a few statistics because you guys know that I love to do this at the end of every month. Sort of just talking about the genres that I read, the ratings that I gave, and things like that. As I said to you guys, I read a total of 13 books, and my page count for this month was 4,326 pages, which is insane. I haven't had a reading month like as good as this since maybe July. I think I read 15 books in July. This was really insane for me as well. Then in terms of our genres, I have my little numbers in front of me here. So I read 4 romance books, 3 LGBTQ+, 2 romantasy, 2 dystopian, 1 thriller, and 1 young adult book. Then in terms of my star ratings, this is probably the month that I've had a bit of everything, to be honest. The breakdown was 3 5-star reads. We had 1 4.75 star, we had 1 4.5, 2 4 stars, 1 3.5, 2 3 stars, 2 2.5 stars, and 1 DNF. I'm making that a monthly occurrence, I think, that I at least have 1 DNF each month. And it sort of does happen like in the middle, but anyway, we'll get right on into it. As always, you guys, I will be showing you the journal spreads for each of these books in like a B-roll as we go along. So let me get this up because I need to know where we started, where we went, what happened. Okay. So, where are you? There you are. So I started out this month by reading books 4 and 4.5 in the Shatter Me series. So those books are Restore Me, and it is the novella in this called Shadow Me. I won't talk about these in too much depth because obviously they are in the middle of the series and I do not want to spoil them for anybody. I noticed this month more than anything else that I am in the middle of so many series, and I really would love to like dedicate like a week or like a whole month to just completing all the series that I'm in the middle of, because especially something like Shatter Me, I just want to sit down and finish it so badly. I cannot believe how addicted I am to it for it being like a young adult dystopian series. Restore Me, I believe I gave 4 stars and 1 chili spice. And then the Shadow Me novella, you have to read after this before book 5, does follow one of the side characters. And this one I gave a 3 star because I really usually don't give, you know, 4s or 5 stars to novellas that are under 100 pages as well. So this was like a perfect little cute novella, and I can't wait to read the next one because this one had me in absolute hysterics. Like I was staring at walls crying at the end of this one because it's like such a slow burn where we're at with the story, and I was just so, oh my god, I was so overwhelmed. So I'm very excited. I am hoping to read, I think the next one is Defy Me, hoping to read that soon because I really want to just finish the series off and I just want to know what happens too. The next book that I read, I have the biggest smile on my face, you guys. I have the biggest smile on my face because I was very graciously sent an early copy of Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This is book 2 in the Rose Hill. Oh my god, I'm so scared these books are gonna fall over. This is book 2 in the Rose Hill series. This, if you do not know, is a small town romance series that focuses all on like single dads. Wild Love is the first one in this book, and I didn't love that book. I think I gave it 4.25 stars. That's still such a solid rating, but it wasn't like all of Elsie's other books like genuinely hold a piece of my soul, especially the entire like Chestnut Spring series. But I didn't get fully attached to that one as much as I would have liked to. If you follow me on TikTok, you've heard me speak about this book already because, for lack of a better term or phrase, it was life-changing. Okay, so let me tell you what this is about. This is about Weston. He is a single dad. He's also a horse trainer. He has two of the most absolutely adorable children named Emmy and Oliver. And how our story opens is that Wes actually runs into our FMC Skylar, who is this like country bumpkin, country star, who's basically at her wit's end at the end of a tether, and she's been controlled by her family in terms of like the type of singer that she is, what she's putting out, what her image is like, and she's just absolutely had enough. So she decides to go out to Rose Hill, where there is a recording studio. It's run by the MMC of the first book in this series, and she decides that she wants to take time away and write something that is from her soul and that is her own voice. She wants to finally start writing her own music. And basically Weston and Skylar meet each other in a very interesting and hilarious meet cute involving a wild animal at the start of this book, and the story goes from there. If you guys know me well and have been following me for a while, you will know that Heartless by Elsie Silver, which is book 2 in Chestnut Springs, is one of my absolute favorite books of all time. And before I read this book, it was my favorite book by Elsie Silver of all time. But I made the biggest deal about this because it is such a big deal, and Elsie actually saw my review on it as well, which is crazy. But Daddy Cade was officially dethroned, and Daddy West is my absolute new favorite MMC by her, and this is my new all-time favorite book by Elsie Silver. I cannot believe how much I love this, you guys. Like, genuinely, this book had such beautiful heart and it made me cry. I just remember like sitting on my couch. My mum had to come and like check up on me because I was crying so damn hard. Like, it was just funny, sexy, like the kids were just like the most amazing little side characters, and I just wanted to hug them every time they're on the page. And the found family of it all, it was just phenomenal. This book got a 5-star rating for me, and it got a 3 chili spice because I can't even tell you what this man says to her, but I was on my knees, okay? If you take any recommendation from this video, please read this book. I am so serious. So there were a lot of interesting releases in September, and 2 of them were back-to-back, funnily enough. So I believe that Wild Eyes came out on the 3rd of September, and then the day after that we had Daydream by Hannah Grace, and this is book 3 in the Maple Hills series. For those who do not know, Icebreaker and Wildfire, being the 2 previous books, are some of the most popular books on the internet and in the world right now, and I'm a massive fan. Both of these books were 5 stars to me. Wildfire is one of my favorite books of all time. I just personally really loved and related to that like so much more than Icebreaker. That being said, I was extremely excited for Daydream, and this is book number 3, and it is around Henry, which is a side character who we'd been sort of seeing throughout the previous 2 books, and it was a story that I was so incredibly excited for because I just love him so much. This book follows Henry and Hallie. They are both in college together. Hallie is a very introverted book lover. She does run her little book club. She is a people pleaser, and she definitely puts everybody else before her own needs. Let's say that, right? She is sort of like the carer of her family. All the responsibility like always falls onto her. And then we have Henry, who has just been made the captain of the Maple Hills hockey team, and he's sort of just going through life and really trying to, you know, work through that adjustment of being the captain and the pressure, I guess, at following in Nate Hawkins' footsteps, which is, in my opinion, very hard to do. The 2 of them meet one day at a little book club that Hallie runs at a local bookstore, and they sort of go from there. I have so much to say about this book, you guys, because again, if you follow me on TikTok, I did already post a separate review on this because I felt like it needed to be said. I did not love this book as much as I wanted to, and it's really sad because I wanted to give it a 5-star so badly. The problem that I had is I truly felt like the 2 main characters were way too similar to one another. I felt like there was no push and pull, give or take, and it really made it difficult for me to become invested in the relationship and in the story. I also just felt like, you know, Henry, who we had seen in the last 2 books, lost so much of the character that he was in the previous 2 in his own story, which made it really difficult. I feel like also there was a lot of plot points that were introduced that were not developed. They were sort of just tossed to the side or forgotten about. And what I have sort of come to the conclusion and how I feel about this book is I feel like it was under such a, you know, demand and pressure for it to get it out soon, and maybe, you know, it was a book that was just written and wasn't given as much love and, you know, consideration on the editing floor, which makes it really sad because I ended up giving this book a 2.5 star, especially towards the last like 100 pages or so. I just felt myself really struggling to want to keep reading. I was, for a lack of a better term, really bored, and I think I gave it like a 2 chili as well. It's really disappointing because like this is the cutest cover I think in the entire series so far. But yeah, that was my thoughts on Daydream, unfortunately. This is so hot, y'all. Like, I am sweating profusely. After that, I really was in the mood for a romantasy or like something like that. I think 2 romance books back to back was like, yeah. And then also like the fact that it just wasn't like the best book either. I wanted a complete change of genre. So I finally decided to pick up Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and oh, guys, look at these covers. These are the Australian like new special edition, limited edition covers, and I'll just show you like the inside looks like that. It says from the library of, and I haven't even put my name inside yet. But like, look how gorgeous the little foiled covers are. Anyways, if you do live in Australia, you can get these at your local Big W or QBD, I believe. I don't know if they're available on Amazon, but definitely have a look. If you guys have not heard of Caraval before, this is a young adult romantasy series, and I'm literally staring at the next 2 right in front of me, and they are screaming at me to read them. Okay, so this basically follows Scarlett and Donatella. They are 2 sisters who have absolutely been infatuated and obsessed with this Caraval game, which is essentially this magical realism game that this man called Legend is known for. And basically it is like this game that gets brought to a different city each time, a different world each time, and basically people are invited to play this game, and there is a different prize at the end of each competition. And Scarlett has been writing to Legend for years, asking him to either bring the competition to their city so they can watch, or to be a part of the game because they really want to so badly. And eventually we do see that Legend writes back to Scarlett and invites her and her fiance to compete or watch the game, whatever they wish, right? He gives them 2 tickets to Caraval. The book essentially goes from there, and it follows the 2 sisters entering the game, and yeah, that's all I'm gonna tell you. I think you should genuinely go in blind. When I tell you guys that this was the most vivid, immersive, loud, colorful, incredible world and like thing that I have ever read in my life. So as I told you guys, this is about a magical game, and I truly mean it when I say it, because this world, like, they might be doing a task in the game, or they might be like walking through a shop or something, and literally the world is changing line by line by line, and your imagination just feels like so well fed. I was addicted to this. The romance plot in this is so beautiful as well, and I cannot wait to read book number 2. I ended up giving Caraval 4.5 stars. Obviously this is a young adult, so there is no spice in it, but I'm so excited to read Legendary, which is the next one. And yeah, please do yourselves a favor. If you haven't read this yet, please pick it up and start it. If you guys can also see these little suction marks on my shoulders and on my neck, it's not what you think. I had some cupping done, okay? I had massage and had cupping done. So after Caraval, I decided to reach from the TBR and pick up a book that I was absolutely itching to get to this month, and it was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and this is by Laurie Gilmore. I have just seen this floating around everywhere, and I think I actually bought this in February this year so that I could have it on my shelf for this time of year. I was so excited to get to it. This book basically follows Jeannie, who has recently inherited like this little cafe from her aunt in this small town where it's like sort of just needing a little bit of love and a little bit of care, and she decides to go out there and fix it up and start running it again. She then runs into Logan one night when he's delivering a batch of pumpkins. He is a local farmer, and the two of them sort of, you know, strike up a relationship from there. We then see that, you know, someone is sort of messing with Jeannie and her shop, so Logan offers to help her out and do a couple of stakeouts to try and see like what is going on. Is it ghost? Is it kids? Like, who's messing with the shop? And the book sort of goes from there. This book started out really strong and I thought it was cute, and then everything went downhill from there. I have a real gripe with adult characters acting like they are 12 years old. It really irks me, and I can, you know, if it happens once or twice, like, of course, we're all allowed to be childish, but I think if it happens all the time, every time they open their mouth. I can't stand it. Then everyone in the town started acting like that, and then Logan started acting like that, and I was like, I can't do this. And I totally understand that this is supposed to be like a cheesy rom-com Hallmark movie type of book. I get that. But for me personally, I cannot stand the immaturity of every single character in this book, without a word of a lie. And then on top of that, this man, I find out, starts naming his chickens after pop stars. I couldn't do it. I got to page 251 and I said, I'm done. I literally could not finish it. So this was a DNF for me. Unfortunately, I know some people absolutely love this and I get it for the vibes, but it was just not for me. It was not for me, guys. I'm so sorry. Next up was another change in genre, and I really was feeling like I wanted to read a thriller. If you guys saw my like how many pages can I read in a week vlog, I'll put the link up here. I like did a haul for you guys. I went and did like a big shop of thrillers, because usually what happens if I feel like I'm going into a slump, I reach for a thriller, and I realized that that happened a lot recently, so I did not have any thrillers to reach for, so I needed to do a bit of a shop. Anyways, amongst those thrillers was The Island, and this is by Adrian McKinty. If you guys have not heard of this book before, this basically follows a family from the United States who are holidaying here in Australia, funnily enough, and basically on their like last day in Australia, the kids are like, Dad, we haven't seen any native animals, like we haven't seen any kangaroos or koalas or echidnas or whatever, and they're like sort of kicking up a stink about it, right? And these local men sort of overhear them and they go, oh, like sorry to interrupt, but we heard that you wanted to see some native animals. We can show you some. And they're like, oh, okay, like where? And they go, oh, we can take you to this private island, but you'll have to pay up because it's a private island, but there's all sorts of animals there. So the dad is like a very wealthy, I think he's a doctor or something, basically has a lot of money to do so. So to make his kids happy, he decides to take them over to the island to go and see the animals. Basically, when we get to the island, a certain thing sort of happens that puts this family in a predicament where they are being held hostage by a family on the island, and the story goes from there. So let me tell you what I thought about this book. I read this book in a day, so that is wonderful. I just made the biggest mistake before I went into it of not knowing that this was going to be like a psychological thriller where I literally felt like I had the worst case of anxiety the entire time reading it. If you saw my reading vlog when I talked about this at the end, I said I never want to read another book like this ever again in my life. And that is not to say that it was not good, because I actually found it very entertaining, and I feel like if you could handle, it feels like a chaser movie, like when you're being chased for 300 pages straight. If you can handle that, this will be a great book for you. For me, I couldn't do it, and funnily enough, if you saw my vlog, I ended up in hospital that week. But that was for a completely, I do have POTS, which is just a chronic illness, which sometimes will send me there. But yeah, anyway, long story short, so much anxiety, it wasn't even funny, right? Like, was not a joke. So I gave this book 3 stars because it was enjoyable. I read it in a day, but I would never, ever read this ever again. So take that as you will. I don't even know. Yeah. Then, because it had just been such a strange month. It had been a strange month of me like reading some absolute bangers, reading some absolute flops. I decided that I would reach for the TBR again, but I would go to my roots. And if you saw my September TBR, you will know that there were 3 books on this TBR that were going to be rereads in time for something very exciting happening in literally 3 days time from when I'm filming this. And it is. Oh my God, I'm so excited. My hair is sticking to my back. If you guys can see the leaves all over my room, or you have been a part of my channel or seen my TikTok, you know that Heartstopper is one of my absolute favorite things in the entire world. And I'm so excited because season 3 drops on Netflix on Thursday, which is the 3rd of October. And just to get myself a nice little refresher for that season, I decided to do a reread of Heartstopper Volume 4, Volume 5, and the This Winter novella. So basically this is what season 3 is going to be about. Quite a lot of material, so I wanted to go back and do an annotation. For those who are unfamiliar, Heartstopper does follow the friends to lovers relationship between Nick Nelson and Charlie Spring. Charlie's this quietly confident drummer, and Nick Nelson is the captain of the football team. There are a few books before this. This is sort of halfway into their story, and it does deal with a lot of heavier topics. Volume 4 is my favorite book in the entire series so far. Volume 4 is a volume of journey for me. Please check the trigger warnings if you plan to read this, because there is a lot of heavy content in Heartstopper, but it is done in such a gorgeous way, but it's also like always got that light at the end of the tunnel. So this one does touch on a lot of sensitive topics, and it will always be my favorite because you get to see both Nick and Charlie growing and learning and dealing with things together, and it's always going to be my favorite in the series. I mean, volume 6 may completely destroy me because it's going to be the last one, but that's my favorite for that. This one gets a 5-star. Volume 5 follows this. Honestly, this one, I was just so proud of Charlie, and I just want to give him the biggest hug. I feel like there's growth on both ends of this relationship, but especially for Charlie in this book. This one also matures a little bit. We do get a little bit more adult content in here. So this one got a 5-star and it got a 1 or half a chili spice. Sorry, it is still young adult and it is obviously graphic novel, so a little bit spicier. And the This Winter novella sort of takes place in between the two. This one does follow Tori, Charlie, and Oliver. If you've seen the show, you're gonna go, who the heck's Oliver? In the books, Tori and Charlie have a little brother called Oliver Spring, and this is a book that basically follows the 3 of them on Christmas Day. And if I'm correct, I think that there is going to be a special episode in season 3 around this, because there were some photos that came out a few months ago now with Oliver Spring, and I'm thinking he's going to be like a cousin or something. The reason he's not in the show as their sibling is because obviously it takes a while to like shoot a TV season, and with younger kids they grow quite fast. So I understand the reasoning to not put him in the show, but it's so exciting that he most likely will be making like a little cameo as the cousin or something in season 3. So this one is a 4-star as well, and it's just a little bit dark but super wholesome. So I can't wait. I will be having a little like watch party for Heartstopper. I do it every single year because I just love it so much. And if you guys want to see some of that content, let me know and I'll film something for you for my like October bookish things that Belle does. Guys, when I tell you I'm sweating buckets, it's so hot. If you live in Australia, my hair is sticking to my back. I literally just washed it today and it's sticking so badly. Okay, then guys, I went to the Halloweeny shelf, which is just over there. I don't know if you can see my pumpkin, but it is over there. I went to the Halloweeny shelf and I said, I'm in the mood for a cutesy romance again. And this was one that I had like as an option for my September TBR, but y'all didn't pick it, which is really sad. Because if I had not read this book, I think I would not be the person that I am today. I read Morbidly Yours by Ivy Fairbanks. I'm just gonna start this off. Before I even tell you what this is about, this book should not be sold as a like Halloweeny fall book, because genuinely this is one of the most earth-shattering gorgeous romances that I've ever read in my life, and the fact that people are not knowing about it or picking it up because they think it's like Halloweeny is actually the saddest thing in the entire world. Okay, let me just tell you about it, okay? So this book follows Lark and Callum. So Lark has just moved to Galway, Ireland to start a new job at an animation studios, because she does animation, right? She becomes like the head animator on this brand new project that they are doing at this studio. She is also just trying to get a fresh start in life because her husband just very, very recently passed away, and there's tension with the families and everything back home. So she needs an escape and a new life. She ends up moving next door to Callum, who owns a funeral home, right? And basically he, or like a mortician, what do they call it? Like an undertaking, like funeral home. That's where he lives, right? And she ends up moving unknowingly next door to him. And how the book opens is Lark opens her front door one day and there's a package there. When she goes to open it, she realizes that there's a bunch of like body bags in there, and she doesn't know if it's like a joke or if it's for Halloween, but she ends up going next door to the funeral home and saying, hey, just thought I'd drop this off. It was at my door. I don't know if it's like a joke or what it is. And they get to talking and they sort of build this beautiful friendship. And we learn that Callum is in a very strange predicament at the moment. He is this very shy, quiet, very grumpy undertaker who is in this predicament where he is needing to marry before his 35th birthday in order to take over the family business, or like to inherit the family business. And he's like very, very, very shy of 35. Like he's just about to turn 35, and Lark is sort of, she's sworn off love, and she obviously won't offer herself up, but she offers to help Lark find a wife, and the book sort of goes from there. This book was absolutely beautiful, you guys. I want to give a quick little nod to a couple of things. First thing, there is incredible demisexual representation in this book from our male main character. It was so amazing to see that in like a romance book with a male-female dynamic. And the second part that I wanted to scream my head off about was there is a side character in this called Sealer. I believe that she is Lark's cousin, and the little one-liners that she would make absolutely sent me up a tree. Like, I just have to read them to you because they were so funny. She's like, "This is your neighbor? I'd let him take me to the boneyard." And then my personal favorite, are you ready? Because I felt personally attacked and I felt like they did this for me. They're having a conversation and Lark's sort of saying that she wants to continue her dry spell. And CeeLo goes, "Are you gonna limit yourself to flicking it to Bridgerton forever?" And then Lark goes, "Don't mock my Regency kink. It's gotten me through hard times." I don't know what it is, you guys. I've noticed this so much lately. So many romance books mention Bridgerton. Like, I've not noticed it before this last year, but I feel like, actually, funnily enough, 2 books that I read this month in particular both mentioned Bridgerton, and I just had to laugh because I was like, she really is that girl. She really is that girl, you know what I mean? But yeah, I can't even tell you anything more about this because I'll burst into tears and I'll spoil it. But I gave this book 4.75 stars and I gave it 2.5 chili spices. Please do yourselves a favor and read this book. It is not talked about enough. And like I said, do not think of it as like a Halloweeny book because truly it didn't feel like one when I was reading it. It passed through many, many, many seasons, like a whole year, I want to say, was the timeline of this book. It was just stunning. Please read it. Okay, we're down to our final 2. Holy Jesus, my hair is just stuck to my back. Last 2 books that I read for this month. The first one, boys. Boys, buckle up, because I'm gonna tell you right now, I usually take between 2 to 4 days to read a book. At most 4 days, right? That's just me. It's not a competition. That's just how I know that I consume books. This book that I'm about to show you took me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 days, 2 weeks to finish this book. And you might be upset, you might be shocked. It was Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This book is so popular. It is young adult, which may have been my first mistake. I don't know if it's just me, but young adult is not my favorite because I feel like I can't relate to it. It's different in fantasy, but I truly feel like young adult romance books, except for like Heartstopper, I struggle to relate to because I am 24 now and I'm not in high school. So this book follows this follows Liz and Wes. They are next door neighbors, sort of like rivals. Basically how the book opens is Liz's like childhood crush has just come back into town and she's always been obsessed with him and always wanted to like be with him, and she doesn't know how to sort of break the mold of him thinking of her as this like cutesy little young girl that they once were. So Wes, being the next door neighbor, the boy next door who's obviously always had a thing for her but she has no idea, sort of suggests like, why don't you change up your image and like let's do some things to help you get the guy. And basically the two of them sort of fight over like this car space that's out front both of their houses, and they always fight each other for it. And Liz says, if you help me get, I forgot the guy's name, if you help me get Michael, I'll let you have the car space forever. And the book sort of goes from there. It shows them like going to parties and doing makeovers and all the cute little rom-com-y things that you would do. I ended up giving this book 2.5 stars. Again, for me to take that long to be into a book, it was sort of ridiculous. The ending was very sweet. It's such a strange one for me because it wasn't like I didn't want to read it as I was reading it. When I was reading it, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm enjoying this. Like I would take it outside when I went sunbaking and things like that. But it wasn't a book where I was like itching to like, oh, I need to keep reading Better Than the Movies. I need to keep going. And that's usually how I feel about books. Like if I'm in the middle of something, I'm going, oh, I've got to find time to read today. And I just didn't feel that with this, unfortunately. So this was a 2.5 stars. I would recommend if you enjoy young adult, if you're younger, but I just couldn't connect to it as a 24-year-old, you know? And last, but certainly not least, is something that I have been yelled at about all year, maybe since last year when I started my TikTok, right? This book was on the September TBR, and I said to myself, I have to start this series this year, otherwise it is going in the bin. I have to start this series this year, otherwise it is going in the bin. And you guys will be very proud of me when I hold up Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I literally finished this book for you guys this morning because I was like, I have to include it in my wrap up. For a bit of backstory, I actually read the first 2 books in the Throne of Glass series in, I want to say 2013 or 2014, when I was in high school, like not high school, middle school. I'm not that old, you guys, okay? I read them when I was 13 or 14, okay? And needless to say, I have not really remembered much about them now at present. So I knew that I wanted to come back to this series, but I thought I have to start it from the beginning. And I know that there are so many different reading orders for this series, and I was going to do the Assassin's Blade working through that way order, but because I have already read the first 2 books, I just thought that I would do it the way that SJM has published it on her website in the publication order. I will be doing the tandem read though, so do not fret. I talked to another one of my girlfriends who read it, and she said at least do the tandem read, and I said okay, I will do the tandem read. So let me tell you my thoughts. For those who haven't heard of Throne of Glass, I don't know what's happening, but if you would like to know what it's about, if you just hear people talking about it, let me tell you what the first one is about. This follows Celaena Sardothien. I hope that I'm saying her name right. I remember, guys, this is so random, but I remember when I read this in high school, it was like the very first edition. It had just come out, and it had a pronunciation guide. Something's happening downstairs in my house. Someone's dropped something. I remember when I first read this, there was a pronunciation guide in the beginning. So I always remember that it was Celaena instead of like Cleana, because it's spelt very funnily, right? But Celaena Sardothien. I hope that I'm still saying that correctly, because I haven't looked up the pronunciation since I was a bubba, okay? Basically, she's an assassin, and she has been living in these salt mines her whole life. She's 18 years old. Well, not her whole life. Something happens and she ends up in the salt mines, okay? And basically one day, the crown prince and the what's his name, the captain of the guard, basically like take her from the salt mines and say, we are taking you to the castle, you are going to be my champion, and you are going to compete in a competition with like, I think it's 24 other assassins in order to become the king's champion, the king's assassin. You get to work for him for 4 years, and then you will get guaranteed freedom. Your name will be cleared and you will be free to live your life. So Celaena is taken to the castle and competes in this tournament, and the book goes from there. I love this so much. At first, you guys, I will admit, this took me a while to read again. This was like 5 days. 5 days to read this. It is just complex, and it's because it is a high fantasy series. I noticed immediately already that this is much more complex than ACOTAR was when I started that, and I love ACOTAR so much, you guys. I love it so much. And I know that it's like much more complex, so I understand why it took me a long time. As I was reading it, like things were coming back to me, and I was so excited. It's so funny that I remember little details even though I read it almost 10 years ago the first time, and I'm very excited to continue on. I just want to briefly say as well, please be mindful of spoilers in the comments box, and that's so fine. It's because I didn't tell you guys, but a lot of people do see me when I sit on the floor usually. A lot of people see that I have them on my shelves and sort of assume that I've read them, so please be mindful, especially for other people who might be reading the comments too, because this is a massive series and it's really important that things aren't spoiled, because I did something silly and I was like reading this and I was like, oh, are these books like interconnected? Because there was like little like things in my head saying like, oh, maybe like her 3 series are somewhat connected. I did a Google search and I found out something silly. That being said, I have also just seen a lot of spoilers on TikTok and things like that for names and things like that. And I think like we really need to stop doing that, because it really, really sadly like ruins people's reading experiences. Anyway, Throne of Glass got a 4-star from me. I can't wait to jump into Crown of Midnight, and I have ordered my books now accordingly to how I'm gonna read them. Alrighty, you guys, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for sticking through all the way to the end. If you did, I really appreciate it. How did you guys go in September? Like, how was everyone's reading months? Did we read, you know, a lot of one genre? Did we read a series? Like, how did we go? Because like you guys saw, I read so much and so randomly. Like I didn't even stick to like one particular genre, didn't even stick to my TBR. As always, if you guys would like to, you are more than welcome to follow me on TikTok and on Instagram. I will leave my handles on the screen for you here. And if you aren't already, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and make sure you're hitting the notification bell. That way you are notified every time a brand new video goes up. I actually don't know what's coming next. Let me check my diary. I have planned October, I promise. We are doing a very exciting video on Friday, and it is going to be the A to Z book boyfriend tag. So I'm basically going to go through and tell you guys my all-time favorite book boyfriends from A to Z. So make sure you subscribe to get notified for that one. Thanks so much again, guys, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're having a lovely day or a lovely night, and I will see you all next time. Bye!